What's up? What's up? And welcome back to They Gonna Feel Me podcast, the show of authentic men with authentic conversation. I'm your host, Rob. This is episode 23, that Jordan episode. Before we get
Or
started, though,
LeBron, or LeBron,
make
or
sure
LeBron.
you like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications so you'll be notified when we have new content posted and uploaded and shared. I got my boy Chris with me, LC, and Reezy down there. We got him woke up. He took a
Y'all ever
tranquilizer
injured yourself
before.
before episode? I made a mistake and poked myself in the eye,
Wow.
but I'm gonna still continue the show. Word to Kobe.
But we gonna keep going. We gonna keep going. So we got a couple topics that we want to hit on and lead off. We got to go with our brother Barry Bonds. If you don't know, the Hall of Fame inductees were announced this past week, and conspicuous by his absence was Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens also. But for this conversation, we're talking about Barry Bonds. So, fellas, what did you think when you saw that Barry Bonds didn't make it to the Hall this time? And your personal opinions. What you got?
Personally, I felt like it was still BS, as we've always said. Looking at the whole steroid era when we had Barry Bonds, what was the pitcher? I mean, the hitter from St. Louis, Mark what?
Mark McGuire.
Mark McGuire, the steroid era,
Sammy
during
Sosa.
the Sammy Sosa, you know what I mean? During kind of runs in correlation with the Attitude Era, two of the best eras we could say that was in sports history, as well as, you know what I mean, a tough era in the 90s with basketball as well and football. You know what I mean? Before we started kind of sissifying and softening up our sports, those were some of the most viewed sports if you go back and look at it. And I believe Charlemagne pulled the numbers on the Breakfast Club when this broke. Charlemagne pulled the numbers, and it showed that statistically, during that era, when Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and all of them were playing during that quote unquote steroid era, those were some of the most viewed baseball times that we've ever had. So the fact that he was a part of that, he hit many home runs, and he never technically tested positive for steroids. His name was just brought up in conversation because of what went on. I feel like it's just BS, man. He brought so much to the sport, and I really feel like a lot of that came because they want our athletes to be so politically correct and so media correct. And he was one of those that was like, he wasn't really nice with the media. He kept it real. He kept it 100 with the media. If he didn't like what you had to say, he was going to let you know. You know what I mean? So the Stephen A's and all of them didn't have their shine, and they always criticize people, and half of them have never picked up a baseball bat, never picked up a football, never picked up a basketball and done anything. So, or they may have picked it up, but they were trash as hell at their sport. So let's call it how we see it. Darren Orlovsky, we suck.
Strange.
It's just crazy, man. Someone who, and this is his last year that he could be on the ballot, so which means that he's probably never going to get he's never going to get inducted until the Hall of Fame. It's just crazy to think about someone who was so influential on the game as far as home runs and things
But
like that.
they do have it's another way to get in. It's called the veterans the veterans club. They'll vote you in. They normally use this as an option for like the older players, but
Yeah.
it's still a way for him. It's still a way for him to get in though. Just for that point, it's still a way for him to get in.
Well, I hope he does get in because he definitely deserves it with what he's brought to the sport. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel about it, because I remember watching I've never been a big fan of baseball. I've never really played baseball, but I remember watching baseball around that time, and that I feel like that was the time a lot of kids wanted to play baseball, and it brought a different eye to the sport because we see all these guys hitting home runs. I want to hit home runs like that, and we have guys like Bryce Harper, like what's the other guy from the Angels, Mike Trout. We got guys like that now who I can guarantee watch Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire, and people like that play, and they were like, you know what, I want to be like them. So I just feel like it's an injustice to the sport, injustice to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of hypocritical. It again, like Chris said, that was the most viewed era in probably baseball history. I mean, I don't know. I don't watch baseball like that either, but I vividly remember like when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds were hitting the ball out the park. I was tuned in. Like I had to see it. It was a part of that baseball era that nobody wanted to miss, because you wanted to just see how many home runs could these guys hit. And I think people, I get the steroid talk and enhancements, but people fail to realize how hard it is to hit a baseball, especially coming 90 miles an hour towards you. It takes a lot of skill. I don't give a damn how many steroids you take. If you cannot see that baseball coming at you and don't know how to time your hits, you're still not gonna hit that damn thing. Like fucking Ronnie Coleman can't get out there and hit a damn baseball. I guarantee you, like Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, or Barry Bonds can hit a baseball. You know what I'm saying? So to say that just because these guys took steroids and were enhanced, that helped them be able to hit a baseball is just crazy. Yes, maybe it helped them hit a few more home runs than the normal person would, but they still have to have the skill to be able to see the baseball and hit the coordination, hand-eye coordination, and hit the baseball. So let's not take away from their skill set. And I think that's a big part of this argument that's missed when people talk about, inducting these guys into the Hall of Fame and, talking about it's tarnishing their sport. And it just sounds foolish to me. Like, because honestly, without this era of baseball, like, let's be real, how many more viewers would you have, like, from my generation? You know what I'm saying? Like, that really, like, got a lot of people who really weren't into baseball to watch baseball. Because, like I said, like, I even had a St. Louis necklace. My uncle, like, is still to this day a big St. Louis.
To this day.
You know what I'm saying? He's
Out of
a
nowhere.
Is your Uncle Nelly? The fuck?
He's a big St. Louis.
That boy fresh out of Claudine, Mississippi. Fuck you talking about? Negroville,
That's part of my childhood that I'll never forget. Him giving me his St. Louis Cardinals necklace, because it was back then when you were a kid, you see some little bling, you like, dang, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he gave me his necklace, and I wore that junk like a badge of honor. But it's always, it's always coincides with that era of baseball with Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, and Barry Bonds hitting home runs. And ultimately, I think Barry Bonds' biggest thing, because there are guys, I believe, I mean, I don't know, y'all guys know more. Rob, I know, knows more, but there are guys who took steroids or are in the Hall of Fame. So I feel like it ultimately boils down more to his attitude and unlikability than the steroid use. You know what I'm saying? People just don't like him because he's an asshole. And ultimately, they don't like assholes. Nobody likes assholes. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day,
Unless you're watching Brazzers.
So yeah, unless you're trying to go to Pound Town, you know what I'm saying? Like, then you may like the assholes or the asshole in general. No, I'm just playing.
Illegally.
All right.
Anyway, I feel like basically it's a knock against his personality more so than it is him taking steroids. And I think people need to get over themselves. Like, let it go, bro. The dude is one of the greatest baseball players that we've seen in our generation and probably in the history of baseball. So why are you guys trying to basically make us forget about everything that he's done throughout his career? You know what I'm saying? And not put him in the Hall of Fame when there's probably guys who are less deserving that are in the Hall of Fame that have made it, and it's all because he's just not likable. It just doesn't make sense, man. Let these guys in the Hall of Fame, bro. And the biggest knock that I have against the MLB for this is y'all wasn't complaining when these motherfuckers was hitting balls outside the arena. You was trying to get all the views,
all the ratings.
You didn't want it when you was getting the ratings and the views, and you was getting money off of them. It wasn't no problem. But after the fact, Now all of a sudden, we can't let these steroid users into our Hall of Fame. Bro, get over your damn self. Get the money back that y'all made off of them. Get the money back. Give the
Talk
money
to
back.
him.
If it's that big of a deal, give the money back. Give it back, all of it. Otherwise, let him in the Hall of Fame. And that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah.
So I'm that guy who never has picked up a bat and doesn't really have much to say on this. I mean, just keeping it 100, keeping it PG, but I still think baseball is the most boring damn sport in the world. Jesus, like
It
I don't
definitely
care
is.
what nobody say about like, oh, you ain't played it, you ain't given it a chance. That is a boring sport. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, everybody keep talking about all this steroid talk. First off, let's get something straight. Everybody keeps saying the steroid era as if like we're not out of the steroid era. Okay, like
This is true.
there's plenty of
And that's what
athletes
I was thinking. I was like, they call it the steroid era, but I know there are plenty of players that are. I mean, shit, we see it on ESPN each and every day. Damn near a player getting suspended for taking something that popped for steroids, and I didn't know that was a steroid. Come on, bro. All
And
right,
then like there's
okay.
all that performance enhancing as marijuana that's out there. I mean, we have to be worried about that too. So
Let's
I
not talk
mean,
about that.
y'all talking about like and to y'all point, I mean, like he's still one of the greatest like that's been around like in our lifetime, and like I mean, the man is still like an icon, and the sport's great. I mean, yes, I feel as if like although he did take performance enhancement, I mean that just made him stronger, right? I mean, if there was a drug for him to like take that would have really made a difference, that just made him stronger. Like, cocaine and Adderall. Like if he was on that, like that would have got his focus, you know what I'm saying? Like taking ADHD drugs on top of the human growth hormone. Because I can tell you now, if you gave me the option to basically take a super soldier to a serum and then get out there and be great, I would. You know what I'm saying? Sign me up. Like turn this into a full contact sport, something to make it interesting. Until then, put that man where he needs to be. Because like on a serious note, I mean, yeah, people say everything about his temperament and the controversies that surround his name when his name came up, and drug abuse and what have you. But like the reality of the matter is, it really do be convenient that this type of stuff happens to the brown people. It just, I mean, it seems like it always circles around and always just, it's because of this, it's because of that, and it's all these excuses, and it always happens to somebody brown. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, the man is great. He deserves his roses, and making him wait till he's like 70, 80, 90, about to die or something, just to maybe get him into some specialized, version of the Hall of Fame. That's BS, and
Yeah,
that's
I
all I
don't
want
want to see that. I can see that on down the road, like when he gets old or when he passes away, then they want to induct him to the Hall of Fame. And that's BS, bro. Like, if y'all not gonna induct him to the Hall of Fame while that man is living and give him his roses, don't do it after he dies. Because to me, that's even more disrespectful than not putting him into the Hall of Fame while he's alive. Like, it's like I just don't get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let him into the Hall of Fame now so he can enjoy that accolade while he's here. Don't give it to him while he's gone, bro. Because, to me, just if you're not gonna put him in now or while he's alive, then don't do it. Period. Basically.
The crazy thing about this is the person who actually did get in, Big Poppy David Ortiz. And while I like Big Poppy growing up watching, he actually did get popped for steroids, performance enhancing drugs. So it's ironic that a person that actually did get caught got in, but somebody who never tested, it was always whispers around Barry Bonds. The thing that got him, but the couple things I wanted to point out is one, before even the specter of human or performance enhancing drugs came around Barry Bonds, he was already a Hall of Famer. When he started his career in Pittsburgh as a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates, he was a five-tool player. He could run the outfield, he had an arm, he could hit for power, he could hit for average, and he could steal bases. And he did all that and won MVPs when he was still skinny, Barry Bonds in Pittsburgh. He didn't start getting big with the big head and all that kind of stuff until he went to San Francisco, and he saw McGuire and Sosa and saw the love that they were getting from the summer of '98 when they started hitting home runs. So before all of this, he was already a Hall of Famer. But to your point, and I think it speaks now to the people that they have given power. They've given power to these baseball writers or the media, which to me is kind of nonsensical because you're going to give individuals many times who don't know much. Well, I'm not gonna say they don't know much about the sport, but they haven't played the sport, and now you're going to allow them to give them the power to be able to decide who goes in and who doesn't when they can use that as their axe to grind. Another case in point, To, how they did To. Now To, everybody who watched him play knows To should be a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
But the fact that Skip Bayless went on TV year after year and called him team obliterator and besmirched his name and denigrated him and talked bad about that man. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like he had a personal one-man vendetta campaign against Terrell Owens just because he didn't like his attitude. Your attitude and your stats or your skill are two different things. It's not the hall of nice people. It's not the hall of humanitarianism. It's the hall of fame. Basically, what did you do on the field? And Barry, you cannot write the story of baseball without writing or without mentioning Barry Bonds. So to me, it's a
Or human growth
travesty.
hormone.
It's a travesty. It's just really out of order, and it looks more like them trying to break this uh break this Negro. He walked around as, hey, I'm going to be who I'm going to be. I'm not going to talk to y'all. I want to be surly. I want to be brash. I want to be arrogant or whatever, whatever. And now it feels like they have their little axe to grind. Like, hey, we gonna punish you. You ain't want to do our interviews all these years. Okay, okay, we gonna fix you. So basically, to me, that's what it seems like. But still, congratulations to David Ortiz and Barry Bonds did. It was real classy of him. He had made an Instagram post congratulating David Ortiz for him being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But that's still some BS. But moving on, this past week also, President Biden had announced that he for his nomination for the Supreme Court spot for Justice Breyer, who will be retiring, will be in fact nominating an African American female. And when he made this announcement, you can best believe there were individuals who had steam coming out of their head.
Abrar.
Fellas, what do you think about the uproar because of Biden saying that he was going to nominate an African American woman as a Supreme Court justice? What you got?
Didn't like some senator in some state say that they would like to nominate her would be like affirmative action, like a beneficiary of affirmative action. Who said that?
Your great state of Mississippi, Senator Roger Wickens.
What? Not Mississippi.
Not Mississippi.
They just passed like a weed bill, didn't they? Wow, I never would have thought that about such a
I
place.
thought Mississippi
sorry.
loved the Negroes.
I thought they loved us. We picked all
Man,
that cotton for them. Damn.
It seems as if they just want you to
Mississippi
pick
is
the
on
cotton.
Mississippi, but what you got, folks?
Man, somebody else
Go
say
ahead.
something.
I mean, I don't
No.
have much to say about it, man. Like we know what it is and what it's always gonna be. So I mean, it's no surprise that people are in an uproar because Biden is, basically backing a black female candidate, and I think the biggest thing is she's black, but also, it's a woman, and it's they want the Republicans definitely want control of the Supreme Court, and I feel like they might lose control of that situation. So uh I don't know, man. It is what it is. It's always going to be like that, for now. Hopefully in the future maybe it'll change, but we just know that our people aren't very supported, especially when it comes to political positions. And I mean, that's all I have to say. And on the flip side, I kind of like feel like, is this a ploy almost by Biden too? It's a good thing, but is it a ulterior motive behind it too? So
I mean,
that's
he could have just nominated. To your point, he could have just nominated somebody, like, and then, oh, she's black and a woman.
yeah,
Oh, that's great.
That's
yeah.
Didn't have to
that's a
say.
good point.
Didn't have to say she was
Just
going to
come
be a
out,
black
just go to
woman.
come out and
Is there an
nominate who you
ulterior
want to nominate.
motive behind this? And that's where my mind goes to. It's just like, I feel like he's throwing this black woman because black women are very popular, a popular subject in today's social media and media in general, and women's empowerment and this whole era that we're in. I just feel like maybe he's trying to pander towards black women and get them on his side, and that's a whole nother thing that crosses my mind when I think about that. It's, like I said, it's a good thing. I'm not knocking it. I fully am happy for the young lady and our black women, and to ultimately possibly be in a position of power is a great thing. But if it's being used as a means to make himself look better, or maybe get reelected if his old ass don't croak before the next term or whatever, what I'm saying, like it's kind of fake, what I'm saying, like. So that's just where my mind. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not the biggest political person in the room. I'll let y'all talk to it, but that's just where my mind goes.
Hey, question. I turned my lights up. Do I look white yet? Do I look white?
Yes,
I do. Yes. Now I can talk about this topic. How dare Biden promote someone black, especially a female, in this position? This is bullshit, right? Bullshit. It's not fair, man. I want to stand up for my country, my rights. All right? It's not right. Okay?
Oh my god.
This is BS. George Washington is turning over in his grave right now. His bones are just doing the Harlem Shake. It's ridiculous.
He's shaking his wooden ass teeth.
I think the former president is doing the Dougie right now. All right. Oh man, but no, man. I thought it.
You got to go back black, man. You got to go back black.
I saw a clip, man. I saw a clip the other day of Hannity, and I've never liked Hannity. I remember being in I think it was junior year. I can't remember if it was junior or senior year. It was a semi debate class in social study because that was like one of my favorite subjects. And this is when Obama first got elected as president, and we kind of had a debate about that. And I could tell the white guys in class were being racist as fuck, right? Why are we just going off of race? It shouldn't be race. We're not segregated by race. You're just putting us back in segregation times when you call us black. But I mean, y'all don't give a fuck when y'all, talk about, oh, we're the only ones on welfare, or we're the only ones, accepting certain things, right?
And that's inaccurate as well. But
and inaccurate as fuck, right? But I just found it. I just looked at it as BS when I see it comes to black man or black woman promoted to such and such, which is, I hate seeing that. I hate seeing first black man promoted to this, first black woman promoted to that, because it's like, damn, we're in the year 2022 and we're just now getting first black anything is ridiculous. But as a point, when I see them making their quote unquote point about how, we're still segregating the United States, we're still segregating our people by talking about this, that, and the third. You're just trying to bat an eye to the fact that you don't like that a black person has been promoted to something. You know what I mean? Just go ahead and call it how it is. I was talking to a lady today, and it's so funny how we were going to talk about this, because she was talking about how I should move to Houston, and randomly, outside of everything that she could have brought up about Houston, the two things that she brought up was that it was very diverse, and it was the cops don't pick on black people. And I was like, of all the things that Houston has to offer, those are the two things that you could mention to me. That lets me know that I probably exactly. I mean, it's like those are the first two things that you thought of when I said I'm looking at moving to Houston. Those are the first two things that you thought of. Those were the first two things that came out of her mouth. The cops don't diversify you and try to pick on you because of your color, huh? Okay, yeah, that means that they do, bitch. Get the fuck out of my face with your old white ass. But anyway,
we have tacos, it's just, and we have people.
Y'all have the Rockets, right?
I literally got a hookah in like Kroger while I was shopping, like just yesterday.
Bruh, so, it's just so crazy. It's almost like, not to put color on it, but it's just like certain motherfuckers need to shut their damn mouth and just accept what we're doing. Now, I do feel like it's a ploy. It's like Biden, I feel like, was starting to lose traction because he promised that he was gonna, forgive student loans, and he promised that he was gonna do this, that, and the third for the black community, but somehow shit is still considering the rise. We still didn't get student loan forgiveness and stuff like that. And I feel like this is another ploy. Of course, hey, I'm promoting somebody else black to this position, but it's still like the negative backlash that it gets is just ridiculous. You know what I mean? It should just be a congratulatory, however you say that bullshit ass word. It should be a congratulatory. I had too much wine. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, motherfuckers. It should be congratulated and appreciated by my fucking color. All right? Somebody else talk. It ain't white. It ain't right. White power. Oh damn, that's black power. My bad. Fuck.
Is it like white power?
Yeah, I think it is. It's like this right here. You gotta do this shit. You can't show you.
Or
damn, boy. My palm white as hell, boy.
No disrespect, but I thought it was the Kappa sign. But
I gotta go by Christopher.
Yeah,
my credit score immediately went up to 850.
But real talk. Now this is I saw these numbers, and these numbers are really kind of staggering if you look at it. During the whole since its inception of the Supreme Court, there have been 115 justices of the Supreme Court. Now, of those 115 justices, 108 of them have been white men. 2 of them have been black men. We'll just say one, Thurgood Marshall, because we really don't count Clarence Thomas, his garbage ass. But in five women, 4 have been white and 1 have been Latina. So we got a problem because he's nominating a black woman houseway. I'm just saying, because you got things going on now, possible Roe versus Wade, they trying to fool with abortion and women's rights with their bodies. When you want a diverse selection of people to pick from, instead of just all men, trying to decide what a woman's going to do with her body. But we talk about diversity and everything. But the thing that gets me, and it's like they don't even try to hide it anymore or try to code it, anymore. once he made the announcement, like, "Hey, I'm gonna make a nomination, and that person is going to be African American." Their next thing, well, shouldn't the number one thing be someone who's qualified? Like, say what? So what you trying to say is you don't think no black women are qualified? Period. Is that what you saying? Shouldn't it shouldn't a person be qualified? The top person that you select be qualified. That's a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face, especially after the past 4 years. And we had Barrett, the last female that just got rushed. You know what I'm saying? That just got rushed in. Brett Kavanaugh got rushed in. He had outstanding charges, or against him, going back to college, talking about sexual harassment, sexual assault, and these kind of things. But you got them on the bench. You know what I'm saying? You pushed them through. Turtle Boy McConnell. You know what I'm saying? Pushed all them folks, pushed them through. But you
And
gotta.
it's funny that they say that like she's gonna be an affirmative action pick. But that last Barrett chick show, she's kind of like an affirmative action pick too. She's just the kind that the Republicans like. Somebody who thinks like they do. So like, I mean, you ain't saying that shit now, like talking about that affirmative action shit when she's on your team. It's just the fact she's gonna be black and maybe represent an opinion that's gonna be more conducive with the rest of the nation. I mean, that's
And the last thing I'll say about this, and we can move on, is elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. Now, back years ago, a couple of years ago, when people were screaming from the mountaintops, please don't vote for this orange idiot. People were like, well, him or Biden I mean, him or Hillary, the lesser of two evils. I can't vote for her. And people were saying there are secondary issues that are going to come about because if you put this buffoon in office. Now, look what happened. We were telling you, hey, this president gets to appoint federal judges. These judges could be sending your black ass to prison at a disproportionate rate, but you don't see it. You just think, oh, just the president. Understand, this president has the power to appoint judges, Supreme Court judges. This idiot has appointed three. He has appointed three. And the very laws or the very things that help you out, they're trying to overturn. But if we don't vote, or we are apathetic toward voting because we don't believe they did. Well, my vote don't matter. You're gonna have these issues, and people will take advantage of the apathy in regards to voting. But remember, voting does have consequences. As we move forward to a more somber tone, and we remember this past week, and it doesn't seem like this, but it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years since we lost the Black Mamba. What do you guys? Does it still? I mean, does it even feel like 2 years?
It definitely don't feel like 2 years.
Mm.
It still feels surreal, man. Like I don't know. It just like it's eerie. Eerie is weird. Like just Kobe's gone. Like I remember when the news broke, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, "What? People lying?" Like no way. And you know how we all go to social media to confirm, especially nowadays, to confirm, what's going on when we see something. Because I was watching somebody stream at the time, and one of the guys in the chat said, "Kobe, oh my God, Kobe just died," and I'm like, they trolling, like no way. And then people kept saying, and I'm just like, what is going on? What are they talking about? So I immediately go to Twitter because that's the first place I think of when I think about that news. And what's I can't remember the website, but the media takeout or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They normally have the news on celebrity deaths the fastest, pretty much. And at first I didn't really see anything, but then sure enough, it came through like Kobe died in the plane crash. So anyway, fast forward to now, it just still doesn't feel. It feels weird, man. It doesn't feel right. It just feels like he died too soon, man. It feels like he was just doing a whole lot. And growing up, like I wasn't the biggest Kobe fan, but I always respected his game. I always respected him as a player. I always knew he was one of the greatest players to ever play basketball, and I could never take that away. There's players that I don't like that I just genuinely have to have respect for because their game is just like that. You know what I'm saying? Like when you watch them, it's just like, wow, like how can he make this shot over four people? Like, or he just his will to win and the passion that he played the game with is just something that you have to admire, no matter how much you dislike the person. So he was just one of those players. And I'll even go to say like after basketball, when he retired, that's when I kind of gained the most respect for him, like watching him off court and just seeing how he moved and influenced different players and supported his daughter. And, just he was trying to teach the next generation about basketball and instill in them the work ethic that he played with, you know what I'm saying? So that was great to see, and knowing, what he stood for was really, really monumental. And it was great to see, that because you don't see that all. Even with like I know Jordan, is a great player, but you don't even see that with Jordan. Like Jordan doesn't really seem like that person that's gonna try to influence the next generation. How he played basketball. I don't really get that vibe from him. Like yes, he was a great player. I'm not knocking him, but it just seemed like Kobe was on a totally different level from Jordan. But anyway, I'm not trying to compare them, but it does seem surreal. It still doesn't like 2 years. It doesn't seem like it's been 2 years for sure. Like it seemed like it just happened last year, to be honest. And it just really just feels like, man, like, wow, where did the time go? And he's really been gone 2 years. And then to know that his daughter is gone and she's not going to be able to leave her imprint in the world, it really hurts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember when he died, man, I really almost cried. Like it was that heartbreaking to me to for him to leave this world so soon and then know that his daughter and other young people died along with him. It really hurt. It hurt my soul. I just couldn't believe it. I don't know Kobe from Adam. I never met the dude in the day of my life, but I felt like, he was somebody like I knew all of my life because I grew up watching him play basketball. And even not being a fan of him, it was just like, man, like, wow, and I think that's like how most of it's. I know it's people who were even closer to him that like it felt like probably like a brother or somebody passed away. But it's crazy, man. Like and just not him. Like people like I don't want to go off on a tangent, but people like Nipsey Hussle, and even like Dolph that just got shot. It's kind of it. I don't know. It just is eerie. It's weird. It's heartbreaking, and I find myself like being really, really saddened by losing people like them because I just feel like even though I don't know them personally, I feel so close to them because I grew up on them or watched like their every move, and it just doesn't feel right. So
I could definitely say that I was never a Kobe fan. I didn't care for his temperament and his personality. But and I'm probably gonna sound like I'm just saying the same stuff that like Reed just said, but like I mean, I will say, especially after his death, like you see all these videos and these things, and I really love the comparisons they make to him and Jordan because it's funny, the aspects of his personality that I didn't like are the same traits that I feel like he feels like he's a photocopy of Jordan. And I feel like a lot of people who are laser focused on success, like they have that type of mentality of I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna do it. They say it in their mind, and there's no well, this can go this way or this can go that way. They just go and they perform and they execute. And no matter what I may feel about him as a person, like I can say, like, I mean, obviously he was like a star athlete, one of the greatest of all time, and he deserves his recognition in that way. And his death, I will say in the moment, it was like, wow, that happened. And then as time progressed, it was like, ah, damn, his daughter too. And then it was like, well, damn, what about the rest of the people? It's like that became so much of a overshadowing story. It was like other people died too, and it wasn't to diminish him as much as to like, this is a huge tragedy. And to the point of how much time has passed, it's like, yeah, because like, honestly, I feel like 2020 was going, it was like, okay, this year is going to be whatever. And then it was just a jump off point for a whole lot of BS that we all know what 2020 ended up being. And, it was an unfortunate, jumping off point for what otherwise just made everything just felt a little extra terrible. But, I don't know, man. It's kind of like but I will say like that when the whole thing happened, it was like I felt terrible for Kobe, but like just to lose a daughter or a mother, to lose like her husband and a child, like the breadwinner or whatever you want to call it. And I actually was really impressed with how eloquent and intelligent and multilingual and just multifaceted that Kobe was. Those aspects that no matter how much I wanted to maybe not care for the person, I could still respect the man that he was in certain aspects. And I definitely even felt defensive when people after his death came for his neck a little bit, trying to bring up like that, like Oprah's friend, like trying to bring up like shit from the past. Like I didn't respect how that was handled. But like I don't know, it's a lot has happened in 2 years, and the only thing I can say is it's good that his memory is being held up in the way that it's deserved for the fans, for the family, friends. My heart goes out to you, and hopefully we'll see another great like him someday. So
I can definitely say, living a life like Vanessa, losing someone that you've been married to, is tough. And I commend her and her daughter for carrying on their two daughters, actually, carrying on his legacy the way that they are. But I can definitely, remember. It's almost like when you lose somebody, like when me and my brother lost our auntie. It's almost like you can remember that day to the T. Everything that you did from when you first woke up until you laid your head on the pillow and went to sleep. And it's like I can remember going to church, getting out of church, phone buzzing with Bleacher Report, ESPN, Kobe is passed. And it's like, bro, stop playing, whatever, okay. Or first Twitter. And it's like, bro, okay, whatever. And then Bleacher Report and ESPN reports, and it's like, okay, it's got to be serious if that happens. And then they put the little red, alert error behind it. And then you go and look it up and you see videos of the crash. And it's like, bro. And it's like, it's almost like your whole day stops. You know what I mean? It's like everything at that moment just pauses. And it's like, what the hell is really going on? And when you finally catch up with it, it's just a sudden sadness, bro. And one thing that I can say, coming from a guy that tried to play basketball, tried to play football, all these type of sports, I actually respected Kobe. My two favorite players at the time when I was coming up was both Kobe and Dirk Nowitzki, because those are the two players that my dad always told me to watch and mirror my game after. And it's like I always had a respect for Kobe. I always loved Kobe, even during the times where people hated him after he got, after he requested to get Shaq off the team because he wasn't doing his due diligence and he wanted to be the man, this, that, and the third. It's like, you got to respect a guy like that because he came out and put up 81 points. He came out and he carried a franchise like the Lakers, a humongous franchise on his back, and, took them to the promised land again and again. You know what I mean? So, man, it's still just an eerie feeling. It's a sad feeling. It definitely does not feel like it's been 2 years since we've lost Kobe. It's crazy to think that it's been 2 years. You know what I mean? And I feel like part of that is because the last 2 years have really been a blur with COVID and everything that's been going on. It's like, it's almost like you take each and every day for granted. You're just happy to be alive. You know what I mean? Because we've lost so many people to crazy things, whether it's been COVID, whether it's been gun violence or whatever the case, in our area, Reezy, with gun violence and all kind of crazy stuff that's going on here in Memphis. It's like you're just happy each and every day to be able to make it to your destination and make it back home alive to see your family. So, you know what I mean? It's like these last 2 years have been a blur, but to think and see that it has actually been 2 years since we've lost Kobe, man, it's just crazy.
I think for me, because growing up, I was actually a Laker fan. Because I grew up a fan of Magic Johnson. I was a huge Magic Johnson fan, and they end up getting Shaq first, and then they end up getting Kobe. And I fell out with Kobe, after the whole Colorado thing, but not necessarily because of that, but because of him saying, why y'all getting me, making the whole Shaq comment, throwing Shaq under the bus, and then later on when management chose him, even though it was the right thing to do because he was a younger player than Shaq was at the time. But Shaq was one of my favorite players. So I was like, I'm done with the Lakers. So even though I wasn't necessarily a huge Kobe fan anymore, once he retired, and then you get that news, all the other ancillary surface stuff goes out the window because you realize that's a human. And I think a lot of times where we err as fans, sports fans, is that you don't realize that these are actual human beings. You know what I'm saying? Out here playing, they have God given talents, and they're athletic, but they have family, they have emotions, they have feelings. They go through the same things that we do. And to me, it was so poignant that the way in which he died was he was going with his daughter, supporting his daughter in her basketball game, and it's kind of ironic because you would think one of the greatest basketball players ever. He had all girls. He had all girls, and he poured into his girls the same way in which you would think he would have poured into a boy. So it kind of showed like the human side, getting back to the human side and showing, because the whole hashtag came out of that, girl dad, and people start using the hashtag girl dad after that. So, it is. And the thing about it, and it goes both ways because as a fan, also when you have your favorite athletes or whatever, you also think that they're indestructible. You think they're superheroes, especially when they're still that young. So when you see that update, you have to look at it like, okay, no, no. I'm pretty sure, when back in the 80s, when they got the note that Lynn By, had a heart attack, while he was playing, it was a shock. Or, any Roberto Clemente, when he had an accident, the plane crash. When you have certain instances when athletes really die, Dale Earnhardt, even though he was older, but still, I just remember all these names keep coming to my head. Like Dale Earnhardt, he died at Daytona. You was like, that's the Intimidator. You don't think that something like that is gonna. You just don't think anything like that is ever gonna happen. But it comes back to you. You realize that we are all mortal. You know what I'm saying? And Father Time is undefeated. And when it's your time, it's just your time, no matter what your talents are, no matter what your skills are. So, and to Chris's point, because of COVID and a myriad of other things, the time has just flown, has flown by, because a lot of these months have been a blur because we've been sitting up at the house, what I'm saying, watching TV, looking at what's going on in the rest of the world. But speaking of legends, though, We had breaking news. We don't know if somebody has jumped the gun or not, but Tom Brady, it's rumored out that Tom Brady has retired from the NFL. So if this is true, what do you guys think about Tom Brady, Mr. Deflategate? I'm sorry I had to put that in there because I can't stand him, but let me I back
He
away.
had he had a good career. Goodbye. Good. Enjoy sleeping with your supermodel wife. Fuck this dude, man. Like, I've never seen somebody who I was so sure was like a serial killer rapist in my life. Like, he looked like the type of dude that like goes to the shady part of town and murders women like in shady hotels. Like that is what he looked all squeaky clean, but he like on the inside he Dexter. I swear. Like I do not like this dude at all. Like I know it. I've never known. Like I swear, I swear, this dude has strangled a woman before. I'm sure of it. Like this is completely off topic, maybe. Like we need unsolved mysteries to do an examination on his background. I'm sure he's killed somebody, just to watch him die. But yeah, good retirement there.
I mean, if it's true, man, like as much as people hate him, you can't take nothing away from him, man. He's ultimately, if not the greatest, one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. One of the greatest competitors we've ever seen.
Garbage.
There is stains on his championship wins with the whole
And on the bed sheets of the hotel where he murdered that prostitute.
But I mean, hey, listen. I mean, if he doesn't retire, he plays another year. At least it's not Ben Roethlisberger. That's all I got to say about that. Now that's the nigga that be out there raping and pillaging motherfuckers.
Touching them girls.
He probably done killed somebody and wrapped him up in a blanket and threw him in the lake out there in Pittsburgh somewhere. But anyway.
And Brady helped him.
None of we don't
like that movie Gothica with Halle Berry.
I'm just glad his ass is gone. Like, good riddance. Thank you for retiring, because I was sick of watching your ass limp and hobble all over the field and suck. And you the reason why AB probably was in an uproar when he left Pittsburgh. Probably one of the damn reasons. But anyway. If it's true, if he retired, then hey, next man up, man. It's time for a new era. We seeing the Patrick Mahomes, we seeing the Kyler Murrays, and a host of new other quarterbacks that's out there. So, it's about time to let it go, man. Like, you don't want enough. You done cheated enough.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't think he gonna retire fully. But that's just me knowing the competitor Brady, especially after the news broke that he retired, and then the news broke again that he quote unquote didn't retire. It could be one of those things where he wants to come out and leave a statement and say, "Yes, I retired. I'm hanging the cleats up." But I don't feel like he's retired. But I mean, maybe respect to him.
Maybe that nigga trying to get the team that he's got to play with to play him a little bit soft.
That boy trying to get more money.
He think he's slick. See, I'm gonna say I'm retired, so maybe they'll let us win so I can get one more in before I get out of here.
No,
nigga, you ain't slick. Boy, they still gonna beat your ass.
Okay. Somebody has woken up. The tranquilizer has worn off. But yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad he retired. I'm clearly hating, but no, I just don't think. To me, there'll always be a blemish. There'll always be a question. There'll always be a question mark. With the whole deflate gate thing. How much of it was on the up and up, and how much of it was was them flat out cheating. And I also think he's gotten the benefit of the doubt for a couple of things. If we remember, with the tuck rule, if that tuck rule doesn't go the certain way, they don't make it to the Super Bowl. Also, if Pete Carroll actually decides to give the ball to Marshawn Lynch instead of trying to throw the ball at the 1 yard line with Malcolm Butler ending up getting the interception, maybe that's another championship they don't have. And if Atlanta doesn't implode after being up 28-3, maybe
Well, I know
see.
every Atlanta team is scared to have a lead on any team because of that. Boy, the Falcons just fucked everything for them boys. That whole goddamn city and state all together.
Yeah, I mean, but the Braves made up for it, and UGA, the Bulldogs, made up for it this year. So
Hey. It's not.
Alabama got them done.
It's no need to mention those guys. Okay. All right.
Anyway, fellas, we have come to the end of another episode. I would like to thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure that you like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and make sure you share this content with others. Remember, They Gonna Feel Me podcast, episode 23. If you ain't feel us this time, you definitely gonna feel us next time. We out.